Hello, and welcome to a Very English Craft Room, and another in the scrapbooking series. This time we will be looking at a layout I did with a picture of shoes and a handbag that my husband bought me. This layout I was asked to do for the Love of Pretty Papers UK scrapbooking group for their National Scrapbooking Day 2021 challenge Go Where the Art Leads You, and in particular the Pop Art Challenge. So I started with two photographs, absolutely identical apart from size, of the shoes and handbag, and I found some paper that was the reverse of the polka dot on the shoes, and I couldn't decide to start with if I wanted to use that as the background or the white, but I decided to go for it and to use the polka dots for the background. So I'm just trimming the edges of the pictures here, and I will matte and layer them in a bit. The original photograph, the large one there, I printed out on, well, both of them were printed out on the Selfie Canon, but I printed it out without a border for the larger one, so I will end up removing the border on the smaller one, I think, if I can remember rightly, but they will both be matted in a navy blue. So just trimming the edges of that background paper to make sure it was 12 by 12 and square. So here is the blue cardstock that I decided I would matte it onto. I did look to see whether I wanted to matte that larger photograph on some white first, just so it replicated the smaller one. So there you go. So that's what I did. Rather than trimming the white off the smaller one, I actually added a white layer to the larger one instead. So using the steel-edged ruler there and the rotary cutter to do so. Unfortunately, I've not had much chance to wear these shoes, but I did wear them for my 50th birthday meal with my family. I really love shoes and have lots and lots of pairs, and I would have to admit that a lot of them I've not worn very often. Comment down below if you also have a love of shoes or handbags and have quite a collection of them. So going through my collection of red embellishments here, and I found the word love there. Now I do include the word love in the final layout, but it isn't that particular one there. So I've put aside some buttons because they replicated the polka dots, some hearts because of the love, and some gemstones there. And I'm going to do the same with the blue box of elements there as well. In the end, I decided that actually I wanted to cut out the word love and shoes and some red flowers on my Cricut. So just loading the mat here and cutting out the flowers. You can see on the right hand side there I've already cut some out, and I'm now cutting some more out because I wanted to layer them up to replicate the flowers that were on the shoes and the handbag. My Cricut I go in fits and starts with. Sometimes I use it a lot and sometimes it gets put away and I don't use it for a long time. I think sometimes just because the sheer effort of getting it out and designing something on the design space. Again, comment down below if it's something that you use a lot, whether you use this model or a different one. So I also cut out some outlines of shoes there in red, which actually the shoes in the pictures have got red binding on them and red straps, and then I found some paper here that is blue with white polka dots like the spots, so that I'm actually going to back that cut file of the shoes out. I was looking for the second one. I did cut out two shoes and I couldn't find it. In the end I did find it after I'd done the layout, but I actually think one was enough in the end anyway. So I've never really backed cutouts like this or cut files like this with paper before, so it was a new thing for me, and trying to work out how to make it stick was interesting, particularly as that tube of glue I'm using is getting close to the end and I have to store it upside down to keep the glue in the nib of there they go again with pens and ink, in the nib of the tube there. If you have a tried and trusted way of doing this, let me know. So now I've managed to stick the outline down onto the backing paper there. I'm just fussy cutting round it using a small pair of very sharp pointed scissors. I'm still trying to perfect the art of fussy cutting under the camera, and without actually moving the camera, I'm not sure how I'm going to manage to do that, because trying to cut with my hands further away from my body is quite difficult. Still, maybe I should just keep trying and practicing. So trying to decide how I want to arrange the words and the photographs so that they are nicely nestled with each other. In the end, I will back the O's and the E's on Love and Shoes with the spotty paper as well. So just sorting through those flowers, putting them into different sizes so that then I can construct the embellishment. So I decided to layer 3 of the different size flowers together and to put a gemstone in the middle, and then just to bend up the edges of the petals there to give a little bit of dimension. After I'd done that, I decided that actually I wanted to ink the edges. So with the other flowers I actually ink them before sticking them together, but this one I had to go back and do it retrospectively, which wasn't quite so easy, and I did end up getting some of this ink on my fingers. This ink is the Tim Holtz Distress ink in Vintage Photo. So now I've gathered together all the embellishments that I want to use and finished sorting out the flowers, I decided it was time to start thinking about sticking some of these down. So I'm going to use double-sided tape to stick the photographs down, just ordinary basic flat double-sided tape rather than a foam tape to raise it up. So again, just repositioning just to make sure I know exactly where I want these. Nothing ever goes back where you originally planned. Sometimes that works for the better, and sometimes not. Sometimes I will mark with pencil where I want these things, and sometimes I will take a photograph of them. Usually a photograph on my phone, and then I can sit my phone down beside me and I can keep a record of what's going where. But here you see I'm just using a pencil mark just to mark the edges of the photographs. So using a dental tool that I got from one of the pound shops just to remove the backing tape from the double-sided tape there. I've had it a number of years and it came with a toothbrush and a mirror and a tongue scraper, that sort of kit. So actually it was really good value for money. So you can see here that I'm going to back some of these letters, the O's and the E's, I think, although it might just be the O's, can't remember without looking back at the picture, with the dotted paper the same there as the shoes. Originally I was a little bit not upset, but not quite so keen on the fact that the backing paper there was a paler blue than the shoes and the backing paper, but actually I think it helps it to stand out a little bit more against the other elements on the page. So I've used wet glue there, the same glue I used to stick the flowers together, to stick the backing paper behind the O's, and there you go, see I'm looking to see about the E's as well. And I think I managed to get all of these, the letters there, from the scraps of the 4x4 paper that I used for the shoes, so I only cut into one even though I had 3 sheets of this. So again, doing the other E there, it is just a tiny little piece, and just fussy cutting underneath. Actually, it's quite easy because you don't have to be precise as long as nothing is sticking out from the letters there, from the perimeter of the letters, so it still looks nice and neat and tidy. So I decided I would ink the edges, not all of the edges, but just those I could get to give a sort of shadow to the letters there, just to give a little bit more dimension and to give a bit more of a polished and finished look to the layout. So sometimes sticking things on that are quite thin like this can be difficult because it's a toss-up between not getting enough glue on and getting so much glue on that it actually leaks out from the edges, and that's not... With some glues it doesn't show in the end, but with some you still get like a little bit of a shiny residue. So I decided I was going to tuck the L and the O quite close up to each other, and have the flourish of the L sort of going across the H, O and E of shoes. So I was looking for the word my on some sheets and actually came across 2 little beads with the letters M and Y, so that I could put them on there to make it say love my shoes rather than love shoes. So now I've finished putting the words on, including those 2 beads. It's time to adhere the little rose embellishments there, or flower embellishments, little rosettes, whatever you want to call them, onto the layout. I used 3 because aesthetically groups of 3s or 5s or any odd number is more aesthetically pleasing to the eye and the brain than an even number. And I actually thought that was enough red popping there anyway, without having to put another one on somewhere. I did have a look and have a fiddle to see if I needed to add any more, but actually I thought in the end it was going to be too much, and sometimes you just have to know when to stop. So as you saw at the beginning, I did get out other embellishments to use on this layout, and I'm trying to see if I can get them to fit in there by putting another word love in, some hearts, that kind of thing, and the buttons. But actually I decide that what I've put on is enough, and maybe all it needs now is a few little gemstones, and indeed that's all I end up adding. So you can see there I looked to see whether that little button would look better on there than the gemstone, but I think it just distracted from the rest of the page. So the last thing I wanted to do was to add a little bit of journaling on there. So on the L of love, I decided to write the word love multiple times, as one of the prompts for this scrap lift was repetition. So I wrote the word love multiple times on the L, and I also add that the shoes had been bought by my husband onto the word shoe. I really enjoyed doing this challenge and this layout. If you too joined in with this challenge, comment down below and show me your pictures too. I would like to thank you for joining me in A Very English Craft Room, and ask that you like and subscribe so that you will get notification when I upload another video to A Very English Craft Room.